All right, everybody seems like they're in, so I'm going to go ahead and say welcome to the regular meeting of the Park and Recreation Commission on October 20th, 2022. It is 6:02 p.m. and Becky, could you call the roll?
All right, Commissioner Cabrales,
Here.
Chair Emerson,
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Here.
Commissioner Machado. Oh, he's absent. And then Commissioner Sandoval.
Here, sorry I was late.
All right, you're right on time. Thank you, everyone.
All right, is there any public? Do we need to explain public comment?
We do not have anyone as an attendee. Nope.
Okay. Any amendments to this evening's agenda? Seeing no amendments, I want to call for us to approve the meeting minutes of September 15th. I would look for a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right. Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Chair Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Machado, absent again, and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, minutes approved. Thank you.
Great. So given that we don't have anybody here from the public, we'll skip number 2. And so agenda item number 3 is the introductions, awards, recognitions, presentations. So I'm going to call this agenda item. Is there anything that anybody wants to, maybe we should be introducing the folks that are here on the call. So I'll look to staff for that.
Craig, do you want
Or
to?
Craig or Catherine,
Yeah,
go for it.
I can step in and do a couple of introductions. I do know we could introduce them right before they speak as well, just to make sure we kind of keep it in context. But we have a couple staff on the call right now. The City of San Rafael Library and Recreation Department staff. Steve Mason is here, Senior Supervisor, as well as Darcy Chalou, one of our, she's actually listed as a program coordinator here, but she is a recreation supervisor for the city. She was recently promoted. So, and then Becky on the call and Catherine and myself, I believe many of you are familiar with. I'm the Assistant Library and Recreation Director. Catherine is our Director of the Library and Recreation Department. And then we have representatives here from San Rafael Girls Softball, as well as the Marin Bocce Federation, who will be presenting a little later this evening.
Thank you.
I apologize. I missed Joanna Kwok, who's our Senior Civil Engineer with the Department of Public Works. Sorry, Joanna, I didn't see you there.
Well, thank you for being here. And I don't think we have any more on this agenda item, so we could move forward to the Bocce Federation prototype shade structure.
All right, sounds good. So my name is Darcy. Nice to see you guys again. I have Jessica on the line right now, and she's going to talk about the prototype shade structure that Marin Bocce is requesting to put up at one of their courts. She'll further explain what that is, where it's going, and how it's going to impact their group. Looks like she might be having trouble connecting to audio.
Yeah, and Darcy, I know this was in the staff report, but I just want to jump in that as part of the Marin Bocce agreement with the city to operate the courts at Albert Park, the Park and Rec Commission has to approve any kind of improvements or infrastructure projects that they have planned, which is why it's being presented to you all this evening. And because it's a pretty minor project that they're proposing, staff has discussed with the other departments that kind of typically oversee these sorts of projects, and a building permit is the only other thing that would be required besides approval from this body. for this one specific kind of pilot program. And we can talk about next steps once you see the proposal. Jessica, have you got?
Sorry, hi guys. I have my architect, Bob, but he didn't get an invite, so are you here, Bob? On as me, second? Okay, that's right, I'll do it. Okay, so this, if you guys know where this is, our court D, this is where we were hoping to put the shade. It is just a prototype. If you haven't been to our courts, or if you have, you know that we need a lot more shade, especially for the players. So we're hoping to construct a permanent shade station with a retractable awning. The width of the frame is 12 feet and the awning extends out about 10 to 12 feet. That's not going to be the color. The color will be a very muted kind of beige to kind of blend in. So it's not going to look like a candy stripe. It's going to be fabricate and powder coat. The steel frame will be powder coated, be done by Mike's Welding. And the installation is going to be done by Gelati Construction Company. So this should be complete, or we're looking to do this around springtime, but we have to order all of this stuff in advance. We are estimating that this is going to cost about $10,000, and we're just really doing one right now to see if this is even going to work. We don't really know with the sun and how it's going to come, and if it's going to even give it the adequate shade that we need for our players. So that's where we are right now. I don't know if Bob can hear me, but he was our architect that can answer a lot more technical questions than I can, but if you guys have any questions, feel free.
Jessica?
Yes.
It's Bob.
Oh, hi, Bob. Go ahead.
Oh, I can go in. I just was, if you have any questions, certainly about the construction or what we're planning on doing, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, and just for the commissioners, like peace of mind, the engineering is also going to be reviewed by our building department, who, you know, is specialized in that. So if you don't have technical construction questions, but more about design or kind of future plans, that's all good too.
Yes, Commissioner.
Looks like Ariel.
Yeah, hi. Were any other plans, are there any other types of shade structures considered?
Yes, so we have gone back and forth over what kind of shade structures. Do we shade the courts? Do we only shade the ends of the courts? As far as we looked at doing some sort of structure over the end of it that could have foliage over it. This seemed to be when you have the players that are at bocce, where are they? And so where can we shade them? The majority of them are sitting at the end of the court or on the side. So the side of the court, this kind of structure wouldn't necessarily make sense for it. And down the line, we've talked about putting in another sort of wood. I don't know if it would be wood, but something that you could have, you know, foliage growing over it to kind of protect it. But as far as where all the players are when we're trying to cover them from the sun is at the end of the court. So this seemed to make the most sense as far as having an awning there that's retractable as well. So when it gets very windy, we can retract it and take it down. And in the winter, we can also do the same. So that's
yeah, it definitely makes sense to have it at the ends where people are resting and stuff. But did you guys look at those like shade sails that can be?
We did. So
Yeah.
the problem with the shade sails, we've been doing this now for almost a year, I'd say. The shade sails, they cast shade, but not necessarily in the right direction. So if we were to put them all over the place, first of all, the board was worried about looks and how that was going to look at bocce. And second, it could be, you're going to have sun shade on the court, which for the ball to roll, that can be a problem because when it goes into shade, it rolls much slower than when it's in the sun. So this is it's the most benign way that we could not affect the courts and the play of the ball, but help to protect the players. This is the way that we found that would work the best.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a question. Did you
Mhm.
guys look at any grant funding to fund the shade structure?
I do not believe so. You know, we have an actual new board member he works for the county of Marin. He just sent us, we just had our board meeting before this, and he just sent us there's something, I forgot the name of it, but that we could look at when you're doing something specific like that. So we are going to look into that as far as cost goes. Is that?
Yeah, well, there's county grants that you can apply for a one-time thing like this. And so I think
Yes.
that's probably the person, but also the American Society of Dermatology also pays for shade structures. So you
Oh.
might want to look into that, just to help
Okay.
finance more shade structures.
Hey, I'm all about that. I'm happy to give that to the board of directors. They'll be happy to see that. Sure. Because this basically, if this works and we find that this is a good solution to shade, we would like to ideally put it at the end of each court, obviously with your approval. And so the idea is to provide shade, but also keep the integrity of Marin Bocce and not make it look ugly. You know.
Any other questions? Oh. Yes,
How are you evaluating at the end, it said you would evaluate what kind of, like, if everybody's huddled underneath it, then we know it's working, or like, what's
Yeah, kind of. So Bob did what was it called?
We did a shade study.
Yeah, shade study. To sort of see how the sun is going to, react with this. So in other words, are we going to have this structure, but the shade is actually shading the other side of, it's not shading what we actually want it to. So we need to see that. And yeah, at Bocce, if they go where the shade is. So if they're not huddled under there, or they don't like it, or it's just not doing its job, basically, then we're not going to continue on and do more of those. So we figured we'd just start with one and see how it goes. Just so you guys know, for us, the shade is it doesn't really matter at night, but it's most important for our senior leagues in the morning. And right now we don't have as many people playing in the afternoon because we don't have as much shade. So it gets really unbearably hot down there, and we need to be able to protect, all of the players, and a lot of them are seniors. And if we can get some more shade structures down there, people can play more people can play, and they can play in the afternoon. And so I have a lot of plans for youth and in the afternoon, but I need some more shade for that. So that's why we're doing this.
do you ever do temporary solutions like a pop-up tent that's
Yep.
well weighted and?
Oh yeah, we bought
That's
4
inexpensive.
pop-up tents, and I put them up so there's 4 that we put up on really, really hot days. And even though it still gives some relief. So people they move all the chairs underneath the pop-up tent. So they'll be happy with whatever shade that we come up with, but those are our temporary ones for now. We've been doing that for the last year.
Right. Any other questions from the commissioners? I did pop the service fund information from the county, because these are these little one-off grants that are done up to $10,000, and they love having a CVO apply. Most people get funded for it.
Okay.
So you should look at just a couple of suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely.
More shade. Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. If there's no more questions, I'll invite Becky for a vote. To call the vote.
I believe someone needs to make a motion first.
Oh, right. Can we have a motion to accept the prototype shade structure?
I'll move to accept the
I think
proposal
it would be to approve. You all are approving this time around.
approve the proposal as written and presented.
I second.
Thanks, guys. Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Chair Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
We can leave, right?
Yes, I think you can go. Thank you. I was toggling over to my screens and now I gotta get back to where I'm supposed to be. Okay, so now we're on the next agenda item, which is number 5, the San Rafael Girls Softball Agreement Annual Report.
Hey, everybody. So this is the first time we've done a report with you guys. We have actually, and just to introduce myself, I'm Scott Yunkin. I've been with San Rafael Girls Softball for 11 years now. And I would also like to introduce Allison DeLeo, who took over for me as president last month. So I'm here to present, you know, I worked with Catherine for the last couple of years on getting the new contract signed and getting everything set. So, you know, we're here today to do our first presentation. If, you know, I know we submitted something as far as what we do, but we're happy to answer any questions and I'll go through stuff for you. So I just need to fix my window really quick.
Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So as I said, we're San Rafael Girls Softball, and just to give you a little bit of history on us, we've actually been working with the city of San Rafael since 1997, where we started taking over the full maintenance of Bernard Hoffman Field. But like I said, we just signed a new contract with you last year, and Catherine and I had worked on that through COVID. So just to give you a quick overview of what we do. So as I said, we take care of the fields 12 months a year. The fields are in use pretty much constantly all year with softball players. It's really the only place in the San Rafael area for constant softball use for these young players. You know, our objective, as it says on the slide, is to provide a learning environment for these young players to develop the skills of softball, but also develop, you know, life skills and gain confidence as young women, being part of a team on how to move forward, you know, as young women moving forward into high school. And ultimately the goal of our league is to get these players both confident and then also to get them into high school and keep continuing playing youth sports. Our league is set up much like youth baseball. It's just fast pitch softball. So we start them at 4 or 5 years old in pre-K, and they can go all the way up to 15 years old until they're ready to start high school or in high school. Once in a while, we do get some high school kids who are not playing on their team. They come back. So we have a very large age range, and you know, we're part of a larger district of all Marin County, but San Rafael is one of the 2 largest districts along with Novato. So as I said before, we host, you know, 3 kind of separate seasons where the fields are in use pretty much 7 days a week. So we're always out there maintaining and taking care of the fields and making sure that these kids have a place to play all year long that is safe, it's well maintained, and we just want to make sure we get these girls players what they need to keep moving forward. As far as San Rafael, we have one of the more diverse economic populations as compared to, say, a Tiburon or a Mill Valley or a Kentfield. Every player that wants to play from San Rafael is given that opportunity. No player is ever turned away. So we offer full scholarships to every kid that needs one. We have equipment, anything they need. We've had years where up to 18% of our players are on full scholarship. We don't ask questions. If they need it, they get whatever they want to be able to participate in this sport. I think last year we were at 6% scholarships. Like I said, the highest is we've had 18% of the full league is on scholarship, and we make sure that everybody can play. So here's kind of a breakdown of where we were last year. The winter spring season, usually the kids start getting on the field around January and go through the end of May, start of June for the spring season. Then summer picks up. We have multiple teams on those fields. And then in the fall, as we are right now, we've got 6 teams going right now. So these fields are in use almost for 12 months a year. And it's not just San Rafael players that are on these fields, because we join with the larger Marin County, we play all the other districts as well. So there are teams coming into play on these fields all the time against our teams. So it's really an exposure for all of the county and not just San Rafael. So it's we're able to build relationships with all the different cities. Players get to know each other. They get to high school like my daughter, and they see players all over the county, all over the high schools, and everybody knows each other. And it's a community that you're building, and not just kind of a small little unit here in San Rafael. And again, we have a lot of volunteers. We have coach volunteers. We have field maintenance people that work all year long. You know, like as I said before, we take care of these fields, and it's just really a lot of volunteer work that gets all of this stuff done. And that, you know, we're a nonprofit, so pretty much everything we bring in goes back into the league and to the field. We're not trying to make money. We're just trying to get these girls the experience they need. And here's a lot of our teams from last year. And these, like I said, we have 6U teams, 6 and under, 8 and under, 10 and under, 12 and under, and 15 and under. And, you know, what we try to do, we really try and get as much women participation as far as coaches. We try to get as many women coaches as we can. We provide clinics to the players free of charge. And for our clinics, we always only hire female coaches to come and teach them the game. We try and get them as much positive female exposure. The coaches that teach the clinics, they're typically all former college players or college players that have gone on to coach high school or travel level teams. And we want to make sure that these girls are getting positive role models from older players that have gone all the way through. So that was really one of our goals. This is our parade. We have a parade like Santa Fe Little League or Galinas Valley Little League. Our league gets its own parade, which goes through Marinwood and down Las Galinas and to the field. And it's the girls have a great time. We've had some great floats last year. We had a trolley car float, which I think is on the next slide. So it's a really good experience for these players to you know, kind of have their own parade and you know, see themselves as their own league, their own players, and part of something bigger. And as I said before, you know, we won both 10U divisions. We also won 10U All-Stars. And it's not about winning or losing, but we, for the first time in Marin County, had an all-female all-star coaching staff. It's the first time it's ever been done. And it was a great experience for these players to have a full female coaching staff. And they ended up winning the All-Stars. 10U All-Stars is always hosted at Bernard Hoffman Field. We bring all the different districts from Marin, and then sometimes San Francisco comes in, sometimes Sonoma comes in. So we do host every year the 10U All-Stars as a big weekend event tournament at Bernard Hoffman, which is one of the other things that goes on there. And it's a lot of fun. Everybody loves coming. And it's a great event. And there they are. You can see the girls, they won it. And it's the first time we've had a full female coaching staff. And all of those coaches are former college players. And that's really what we strive for, to get these girls the experience and the positive role models that they really need. So the fields, as I said before, so here's some pictures of the fields in use. There's 2 fields, and then there's 4 bullpens for the catchers. And as I said, we maintain these 12 months a year. You know, we have to put down new clay, new dirt, make sure that, you know, any holes are filled. We have a gopher service working because we need to make sure there's no potholes. We provide the porta potties, pretty much anything that you need to keep the fields in operation. And this year it was nice because while we have a ton of people who volunteer their time from the league and around, we also last weekend had a baseball academy come out and help us as well. They wanted to volunteer, do a community service project. So they came out, they brought their players for the weekend, and they helped maintain the what's called the lip of the field, is where the dirt meets the grass. And if that gets arched up, you get balls that kind of pop up in the air and it's not as safe. So they They came out, they cleaned out all the weeds, and they actually shaved down the lip of that field, which is a lot of work. So it's not just the softball people that are contributing their time. It's actually some of the baseball people. And that was 365 Academy, which is down by Albert Park. They volunteered their time for the weekend and really wanted to do community service for us, which was great. So it's not just softball people being involved, it's now baseball people that are getting involved to help the girls out. So as far as community, what we do is we always get our all the uniforms, everything is always run through T&B. So we make sure that we always use local people for our uniforms and our sweatshirts. And then last year we partnered with Area Print House for additional Santa Fe girls softball merchandise that parents had been asking for, you know, sweatshirts, t-shirts, because the players get their uniform, part of their expense is they get their uniform and they get their sweatshirt to keep. That doesn't get returned. The kids always keep their sweatshirts. It's got the sponsor on them. So the players that are walking around town have that sponsor exposure 12 months a year. The parents asked for additional Santa Fe girls softball. So again, we used a local print house rather than going out. So all of our uniforms, all of our sweatshirts were produced locally. We did not go out of town for any of that. So we have a lot of sponsors. We actually had more sponsors than we had teams last year, which is great. But you know, we're supported by Santa Fe Fire Department, the police department, and a ton of local businesses, which is great. Again, they get the exposure all year long of being on sweatshirts. Their banners are up at the field. And you know, we couldn't really do it without them. We appreciate all their work. And again, we try and stay local and help support these businesses back out. So you know, our future plans, like I said, we always want to keep maintaining the field, and that, you know, getting the lip fixed on the field was one of those big things that needed to happen. That was great. We got it done last week. We opened registration earlier this year. We always trying to build back up. You know, COVID kind of knocked our numbers back down a little bit. By the start of last year, our numbers were back up to pre-COVID, and we always want to push them farther and get more people involved. Again, we offer all the free clinics. We never charge our players to help learn pitching or catching or hitting. That is all part of our program to help, you know, advance them as players, and they don't get charged for that at all. So we're going to continue that. There are projects that we'd like to get done. So we're kind of making a list on that, you know, extending the dugouts, getting shade for the dugouts, and then, you know, getting additional bleachers put in, but that's all stuff moving forward. So we always had plans to improve the field. And now, you know, it's just trying to make that happen while we help, you know, support these young athletes and move them forward. So that's, you know, that's pretty much, you know, a really quick explanation of what we do and how we support these young players to move forward. Does anybody have any questions on what we wrote? Because I know there was a lot more information and budget stuff that we had put out for the presentation.
Thanks, Scott. And we're excited to see this presentation because we haven't seen it before. And I do know several girls involved in the leagues, just because I have a 10-year-old. And Santa Rafael. So thank you for all you do. And then let's take questions from the commissioners. I have a few questions, but I'll let everybody else go first. Ariel?
Actually, not a question, but a comment. If you, I think you were on the call before, the shade structure grants in the chat box, there's a link to it. So if you wanted to shade those dugouts, that seems like a really great opportunity.
Yeah, I
Anyway, otherwise, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I mean, it's a great program and you guys are thriving. I'm just wondering, like, in terms of your outreach, especially to monolingual or Spanish speaking community, like how do you market your program to people that might not find you just through word of mouth or through their friends?
Well, typically when we send out flyers, if we use Peach Jar, I mean, everything has to be both an English and Spanish speaking version. We don't, so anything that reaches the schools in San Rafael, we mandatorily have to do a Spanish version. Now I know I've met with Steve Mason, you know, several years ago to help our outreach down at his center. And we, you know, we've had signs out there, and people before me on the board, Mike McNair, who's the head coach of San Rafael High School, He has also done outreach down there. So we typically have a small percentage of the Spanish speaking population coming up from there. And I know that, if there are suggestions on how we could get more of them involved, the major issues, so that you guys are aware, is number one, transportation. The only fields, like I said, the only fields that we have in San Rafael for, between Peacock Gap and Terra Linda and everything are Bernard Hoffman. So getting some of these players to come up from the canal is almost impossible. I mean, it's not impossible, but because we've done it before, but to do it on a consistent basis and in a way that those families feel safe. I mean, I think because they don't know us. And I think, Steve and we had talked about potentially getting involved in the Junior Giants program or one of those programs in the summer to help them feel safer coming up to us. It's hard to get them to register when they don't know us, know who we are, and then trust us with their children. So I think that is probably the biggest obstacle for the Spanish speaking community, if we're talking the canal area at this point. But as I said, we've looked into it for many years, and we've had some great players come out of the canal, but it's simply not enough because they do have a hard time getting to us, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. It's just always in my mind as a person who works in public health for Marin County, and just what is our equity? What are we striving for? What are your demographics? Are we reaching the people that need to be reached and served? But Steve's on the call. I'm sure he's got some good ideas. But so I just want to understand how your league works in terms of, like, you only play at this field, but could you play at other fields, or?
Well, if you're talking, the games are held all over Marin, but our practices, our setup is
The
only
practices, got it.
the practices. Yeah, we practice 7 days a week. We are part of a larger league in Marin, so we can, some of these teams will play half of our games. We'll play a game in Tiburon or play a game in Tentfield. We go back and forth, but the fields are in use all the time. To the question of there are other fields we can use, we can't use the school district's field, so we can't be on Terra Linda High School field or San Rafael field. One, because we're just not allowed, and two, because they're using it for their high school teams as well. McGinnis is typically either shut down or used for men's or women's softball. And we did actually rent Albert Park one year for our 15U team because we just didn't have enough space. We had so many teams that we didn't have enough space. And the oldest team seemed to be the most reasonable one to send down to Albert Park. That is also, it's tough because everybody tries to use Albert Park, whether it's baseball, softball. So just scheduling, we couldn't schedule a whole league there. I would also say that the environment for 13, 14-year-old girls at Albert Park is not fantastic, as they were. There were comments coming from, homeless or, people that should not be near the field, and it's tough when they're making physical comments about 13, 14-year-old girls on the field. That's just not the environment they should be in, probably. So
Would a partnership with the school district be helpful to open up some of those fields that you mentioned?
I think that would be fantastic. It would be, I think it would be more helpful in the summer and fall. Like I said, the high schools are using their fields 5-6 days a week during the same season we are. So that's not really, it would be helpful on a Sunday if we could, use it for Sunday practices, because the majority of our teams all have practices on Sunday. We wouldn't be able to use it during the week because the high schools are on it. But for Sunday practices, that would make scheduling people a whole lot easier, and it wouldn't pack Bernard Hoffman so much on a Sunday. So yes, that would be great.
So if you were able to use like San Rafael High's field, then that would also be a location that might be more inclusive and
Absolutely.
bring in more players.
Yes, absolutely. Because when we talked to people in the canal area before, there's just not a field down there. that we can use. But Centerville High School would be much easier, I would think, for people in that area to get to. Absolutely.
And when you say you cannot use that field, it's just not an option that's open, or?
Well, we can't use it if the high school team is on it.
Got it. But there's just no agreement with the city to be able to use.
The school
or
fields.
the
No,
school
there's
district,
currently
yeah.
not an agreement, and I don't, we haven't looked. I don't think we've looked into it, but it's also, knowing that they're always on it, it's been tough to, to expect them to let us use it. If it is an option, we would love direction on how to be able, even just once a week, like I said, on a Sunday, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of action on Sundays on the,
No.
on the fields, to be honest.
They're not allowed to practice on Sundays. High school.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Scott, again, and I'm listening to our, suggestions. Is there anyone else that has some questions for Scott or comments? You guys are doing a great job. Not a criticism about the equity stuff. We just want to support you.
No, it's a
in-
valid
in
question. that
reaching
we've
our
been
goals.
researching, for years.
So anybody else want to chime in, staff, commission, before we call the vote on this agenda item?
Oh, I just want to say, it sounds like a great program, and yeah, I think it would be great to be able to include more people. So that's what I was brainstorming about. Because it sounds like you want more people. And it sounds like there's people that could join if they had an opportunity. So thank you.
I just wanted to jump in really quick and just thank Scott and Allison for all your time in putting in this report together. And I had the pleasure of working with Scott a few years ago, coaching, and he's incredible. He does a lot of work at that field, a lot of passion, and yeah, those kids get what they need to get what they need, and the coaches got what we needed as well. So thank you, Scott.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Coach Darcy.
this really has been a very mutually beneficial partnership between the city and Santa Fe girls softball, and they're really taking on some work that the city just doesn't have the capacity in maintaining that field and providing the service to the community. So it's really been a win-win-win for everybody involved.
Great. So can we receive the San Rafael, can we make a motion to receive this report with enthusiasm?
I make a motion to receive the report.
I'll second.
All right. Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Chair Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion approved.
Thank you, Scott and Allison, for attending our meeting and for your
Thank you.
presentation. It was really, it's nice to see it. Like I said, we haven't seen this before, but I know about the softball through kids. So it was great to see the official presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. We
Really.
appreciate it.
We appreciate everything you guys do for the girls. So next agenda item is the Park Projects and Maintenance Biannual Status Report.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Are you able to see my screen? Great. So I'll be starting with updates on our active parks project and moving on to the maintenance updates. For the Shoreline Park restroom, the sewer connection was installed and the water service will be going in later this year once the water district sets the water meter, which is scheduled for this month. We're also working with our electrical contractor to trench conduit in preparation for the service drop by PG&E, which we are in the process of scheduling. For the Sun Valley Park playground renovation, the city conducted a survey and outreach event in June to gather feedback on playground structures and color palettes and to take in additional comments. The playground concept and design were completed in the summer. We were aware of long wait times for playground equipment, so staff contracted directly with Ross Recreation to have the equipment pre-ordered while we worked on advertising the project for construction. We're now reviewing the bid proposals and anticipate starting construction towards the end of this year or early next, and are targeting to complete the project by spring of 2023. Next update is for the Albert Park field. We are continuing to work with a design consultant on alternatives for the netting project and plan to re-advertise for the project at the end of this year or early next. The Albert Park restroom and ADA ramp project was completed this past July, and it includes a new restroom with 4 stalls, newly paved walkway, and new utility connections, and an ADA ramp that provides access between the baseball stands and new restrooms. For the Pickaway Park enhancements and field renovation project, we found out we were selected for the grant funding through Land and Water Conservation Fund program, and we're working closely with the state park representatives to ensure that we meet all the grant requirements. We're also in the process of bringing on a consultant team for the design of the park restroom renovation and adding additional park amenities such as a new basketball sports court, more playground equipment, fitness equipment, parking, landscaping, and more. The Arbor Park Public Art Project includes a display of public art, a new viewing area, bench seating, and drought-resistant plantings and trees. Construction of the project started at the end of summer and was completed last week. There will be a celebration for the unveiling of the project this Saturday, October 22nd at 11 a.m., and everyone is welcome to join. Next, we will be moving on to the maintenance updates. Here's a photo of our park division staff removing their barbecue at Victor Jones Park. Our staff had worked with the fire department to identify barbecues that pose a potential fire risk and remove a couple barbecues from Victor Jones, Gersel, and Sun Valley Parks. Here, our Parks Division staff was making repairs to irrigation to our irrigation system at Bernard Hoffman and Albert Fields. Most of our irrigation systems have reached the end of life and require constant attention. So it's very important for us to keep on top of the leaks in the irrigation systems, especially with ongoing drought conditions and water use restrictions. Finally, I'd like to conclude with our regular maintenance note. With Winterfest approaching, the Parks Division staff will be combined with our Streets Division to help inspect the city's stormwater system in preparation for storms and to meet Marin County's stormwater pollution protection program requirements. This will result in reduced maintenance and increased response time for service requests of the city parks, but it's necessary due to the current maintenance staffing levels. Combined staffing will continue through winter and end approximately in March. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna. Great news on pickleweed. Is this new news or did we already know about this? New?
We found out around June, I believe.
Yeah, we've shared this in our staff update
Okay.
before.
Well, that's exciting to see that. So it all sounds good to me. Do the commissioners have any questions about the status report or any comments? I just have one. Oh, Ariel. Oh, you can go first. I'm talking enough.
Okay. I heard, and it could be just rumors, that Pacifics are not coming back, that their league is having trouble. Okay. Is
That
there
was
any?
news to us?
Okay.
So, I mean,
Oh, I hope it's just rumors. I just didn't know we invest all this money in that, and that's one of its major uses.
yeah,
So
we are currently in the open season for accepting applications for the next season for baseball for the Albert Field. Darcy, they've submitted an application, do we know?
Yeah, they did, and we just finalized that today. Not the specific dates, but he finalized the dates that he's requesting today.
Well, that is better news than
Like the
I
chicken tenders?
had
or-
heard.
He
And yes,
did
the
say,
tenders.
I don't know if this is related, but he did say City of Santa Cruz is on strike, so they're struggling with field usage there. I don't know if that's the part of the rumor.
All right.
And I will
thank you.
just say, as Scott Youngkin mentioned, there's a lot of interest in use for Albert Field. So, I mean, while the Pacifics are a great user and a really, wonderful kind of amenity, or not amenity, but it's a great thing to have in our community. Were they to go away, that field would still be getting would be scheduled fully.
Yeah, it seems like that. I mean, I know, other than that field, I don't think there's any Santa Fe owned baseball fields except Victor Jones, which is a small T-ball field.
Yeah, I think it's the
so-
only, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the only lit stadium of that size in Marin County.
Yeah, certainly that, but like for Little League, they mostly,
Oh, right.
90% of activity is on school campus, not on any public. That'll be good. Thank you.
Okay, so. Sorry. So I have one question though, and this has been like an ongoing issue for me, is when you combine the staff in the winter, do the parks suffer from lack of maintenance and cleanliness and just regular maintenance? And I understand the way it's structured, but I just have to ask the question to the experts here on the call.
Right, I think we do try our best to kind of maintain the fields and all the facilities. I think fortunately, at least during the winter, at least there'll be lots, hopefully there'll be good irrigation just from the weather itself. But, we do try to provide service whenever we do get the request, but, it might just take a little bit longer for us to get to certain things.
Also, the primary kind of like ongoing maintenance that's is the restroom cleanings, and that continues. So that doesn't, the restrooms are still maintained at the same level. And then as Joanna mentioned, I mean, our fields are closed during that time of year, so we're not getting the constant use there. And there's just different maintenance needs in the winter versus the spring, summer, and fall. So it would be ideal if we had the staff capacity to have them year round, but unfortunately the demand during the winter, dealing with storm drains and preventing flooding throughout the city is just so great. And it's so seasonal that's a hard thing to staff permanently, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, I understand from an organizational perspective, but I would like to make a plug for dedicated parks maintenance staff that don't get pulled to DPW to clear out storm drains year round. It's just my recommendation. Sorry.
You are welcome to make any recommendation you'd like.
Thank you, Joanna. Good report. Any other questions for folks? For anyone? From anyone? So do we need to make a motion to receive the report then?
Yes.
I will move to receive the report.
We have a second?
I second.
All right, Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Chair Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Joanna. Nice to meet you. So commission reports and comments. Does anyone have anything they want to share with the group? Ariel?
Sort of tangential to our work here. I had a really nice meeting with the Safe Routes to Schools and TAM group and Santa Fe. Is he Public Works? Some city employees and someone from the BPAC on sort of local safety, traffic safety around my school in particular, Sun Valley. But it was a really productive meeting, and I thought it was just a really great example of how a lot of these little organizations, city government and the commissions and everybody involved were committed and interested in making some sort of fast progress. So just wanted to sort of pass that along as a Santa Fe City plug. And I think that's all I have.
I got to stop by the Arbor Day celebration at Bret Hart today. Saw a lot of you out there. That was great. That big tree fell down. We were all very sad here. So it's so nice to get a new tree in there and get some extras on the side of the hill there. That was a really nice presentation, and I'm glad to see it happening.
Yeah, we had our first meeting for the Public Art Review Board, and so not much to report. It was nice to meet everyone, and we elected a chair and a vice chair and talked a little bit about the process, and just looking forward to seeing what happens with that. But yeah, good first meeting.
And then I don't think we have anything from the master plan, any updates for this month, right? Okay. All right. Let's see. Ariel, do you have any announcements or anything? I can just say on the county COVID front, we're trying to push the bivalent boosters. They have been approved for 5 and up. We're winding down our vaccine operations. So right now the place to go is Northgate or drop-in Kerner, or I think there's some at Alboro. So we're really trying to push the bivalent boosters. We think it's a good match for what's circulating, just kind of like flu this fall. So we'll be pulling kind of out, and we're relying more on our community providers, but we do expect a winter surge, sadly, but hopefully people will be protected. But big policy update is that kids don't need to test out at 5 days to get back to school. They can just go back to school after 5 days after post-COVID. And that is my main public health update. And I think the next is the staff updates, right? If no one else has any more updates.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Emerson. I have a couple things I'll share, and I might call on a couple other folks to contribute and share from their perspective here as well. But it's good to see everyone this evening. I'm going to take kind of a scattershot approach here and just share a whole bunch of different things. We did share the schedule of upcoming meetings and events of interest with you. A couple notable things coming up are the Arbor Park mural unveiling is this Saturday, the 22nd at 11 a.m. We're excited about that as part of a pilot arts project that kind of helped lead to the Public Art Review Board. So we encourage you to attend that if you have the opportunity to. At Falkirk Cultural Center, the California Watercolor Show just kicked off on Friday the 14th and runs through the 18th. And then I was going to turn over to Steve Mason really briefly to share a little bit about the Dia de los Muertos celebration and what's happening in the next couple of weeks there.
Great. Thank you, Craig. As many of you know, my favorite event and our largest event is coming up very quickly. It's our 34th annual Dia de los Muertos celebration. And right now we've got 13 altars in downtown storefront windows that evolved out of COVID in 2020 when we couldn't have the in-person event. We had them in downtown windows, and we've kept that component. So they're now on display. And then this Saturday, the 22nd at 3 o'clock, we've got our downtown car procession, and that starts at City Hall. It goes down 5th Avenue to H Street, then all the way down 4th to Lincoln, and then back to City Hall. And then afterwards, several of the cars will be on display at the Multicultural Center of Marin. So that kicks us off and lets people know that in 2 weeks, our main event, November 5th at the Albert J. Boral Community Center, we're going to have, Cicely, right, 26 altars. Are you coming?
Working on it.
Okay, good.
We,
Well, if
we
Cicely
hope,
comes-
we
if
hope to be
Cicely-
there. We hope to be
Right.
there.
If Cicely comes through, we'll have 26 altars, we'll have craft activities for kids. We've got 7 different providers doing the different crafts. We'll have our procession at 6 o'clock through the Canal neighborhood. We have traditional food. We've got music from local youth groups as well as professional bands that we've hired, cultural performances. We will have shuttles, so there'll be limited parking at the center. We will have parking at Bahia Vista Elementary School. And then at the Health and Wellness Campus, we'll have a shuttle from there. So we're really excited and we're gearing up. We've been working since February on this event, and it's going to be the best one yet, I think. I was also asked to give a presentation last Tuesday. It's a national webinar for the Association of Multicultural Affairs in Transplantation. And they were trying to find a way to honor those that have passed and have donated their organs to give life to others. So I spoke about how they could do altars or perhaps procession. I gave an overview of our whole event, but we focused mainly on the altars. So people from all over the country are looking to maybe do altars in their offices or other places to honor those who have passed. So that was nice that our one of the attendees from our events in past years reached out to me to see if we'll do that. So looking forward to it, and we're keeping real busy. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Steve. A couple other updates. Tai Chi and Kung Fu are back at the San Rafael Community Center. We're really excited about that. It was already mentioned, but the annual Arbor Day celebration was this morning. So I just wanted to recognize the Department of Public Works for their efforts to continue to plant trees all throughout the city. It was really great to see a lot of people there this morning. On Monday, City Council approved our new park amenity sponsorship program. You might recall last month we brought that to you. So I just wanted to thank the commission for their feedback and support of that policy that was approved. And so we're going to be working to roll that new policy out in the coming weeks. And we'll share information as soon as that comes available, so you can take a look at how that policy is moving. I've already had this week a couple people say that they're excited about it, and we are too. So we're hoping that that will be a new positive addition to our programming. In early October, City Council approved some new aquatics pilot program fees for the Terra Linda Pool. We extended the pool season there, and so far we've heard really positive feedback from swimmers. And they're excited that we're extending that pool season. So right now what we're looking at is we're working on plans to continue to operate that pool into November. So our aquatic staff are checking on staff availability, and we'll be releasing some new schedule information hopefully soon. So we're going to continue to assess the success of that program and take a look at the viability of that as we move into the spring season. And we'll continue to keep the commission posted on that process. On Friday, we hosted a tour of the downtown San Rafael Arts District. So a library and recreation department staff were involved in that in conjunction with the district stakeholders themselves. San Rafael is one of 14 designated cultural art districts in the state, and the California Arts Council just received a $30 million one-time general fund allocation to be spent over the next 3 years to support those existing 14 cultural districts and to expand the district's program to serve traditionally underserved communities. And so we had the opportunity to tour several state legislators. Senator Ben Allen was president. He's a Democrat from Los Angeles. He's the chair of the Joint Committee on Arts, and Assembly member Tasha Borner Horvath, also a Democrat from Oceanside, was present. She is the chair of the Assembly Committee on Arts, Entertainment, Sports, Tourism, and Internet Media. That is a long title. In addition, State Assembly member Mark Levine was present, Mayor Kate Collin was present, Council member Eli Hill, County Commissioner Damon Connolly was present along with city staff. And we went to 5 different locations in downtown San Rafael: the Youth and Arts, Marin Society of Artists. We visited Darcy and Debbie Youngkin, one of our senior supervisors, up at the Falkirk Cultural Center. And then we went to Artworks downtown and stopped by the California Film Institute for the Mill Valley Film Festival. And it was a great tour. It really highlighted all the wonderful things happening in San Rafael. And we were really excited to have an opportunity to be part of that tour. Commissioner Sandoval also mentioned the Public Art Review Board. I'm really excited that that's up and running. So we did have our first meeting on Tuesday, and we will be meeting quarterly with that board. Their goal is they're charged with reviewing and approving new public art proposals. So if someone wants to install public art in a public place or inside a public building, they would submit a proposal to city staff, to us, and then we would review it and then get that over to the Public Art Review Board for approval. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I'd be happy to share some additional information. But their next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 11th. A couple quick personnel updates. We just welcomed 2 new program coordinators to the Recreation Division. So Kara Riley will be at the San Rafael Community Center, and she just started in early October here, I believe, Darcy. And she's going to be working with all of the San Rafael Community Center programming. We also welcome Christina Faring. She will be the coordinator at Falkirk Cultural Center, who will also be coordinating our Community Gardens program. So we're really excited to welcome them aboard. And then I just wanted to turn it over to Catherine to see if you had anything else that you wanted to share, anything I missed.
Yeah, I did want to give a little bit of an update on the Park and Rec Master Plan. We currently have scheduled the next steering committee meeting to be in November, and we're originally planning to bring kind of the draft recommendations to the Park and Recreation Commission also in November. So what we've been doing over the past weeks, since we kind of finalized the prioritization criteria, is we've been working on applying that to the list of recommendations that staff and the consultants have developed for all of our parks. And we have a list of over 130 recommendations just for the parks, not even including the facilities, not including programming. So what we're realizing is it's going to take us a little bit more time to work through it all, make sure we've got all the details correct, and that we're able to present it in a way that isn't just this list that's going to be so overwhelming no one's going to be able to process it or understand it. So we're actually looking at pushing back those meetings to January. Just with the holidays coming up, we felt like that was probably going to be the best time in terms of being able to get a product to the group that is really in a state that it's ready for feedback. So we haven't yet set the new steering committee date. I know Commissioner Cambrales and Sandoval, you'll probably be hearing from us before the end of the week to do that. But just wanted to let this group know that we're working through it. It's really exciting. I think we're kind of seeing how things are like sorting out with the criteria, and it looks like the criteria, it just makes sense kind of when you read how it's looking. So I think that's good. You know, we're trying to be very comprehensive and really come up with a very actionable plan out of this. So I think we're going in the right direction, and we're really excited to share it with you all in January. And I think that's probably, Craig, you did a great job hitting on all the other key points. Between the commissioners' report outs and yours, I think I have nothing more to add beyond that.
Any questions from our group on the staff comments and list of events? I'm assuming we'll hear more about the the other events that'll take place in December, whether it's going to be lighted boat parade or tree lighting next month, right? Okay.
Yes, we'll be sure to share an update and an updated schedule of things coming up.
Yeah. One thing I'm still interested in is an update on Beach Park. I mean, maybe it's folded into the master plan, but I just want to know kind of what the city is thinking.
Yeah, at this point, we're waiting to see what happens with the old Terrabin Crossroads facility.
Yeah.
We heard a rumor that there's a contract negotiation going on right now for what sounds like another restaurant. I think they're looking to sell the building, so it could become anything. It could become another car lot. So I think depending on what happens there, it's going to have a big impact on Beach Park. So that's, the Terrapin Crossroads partnership was really developed to address some serious problems that were happening at that park. You know, a lot of illegal drug use, encampments. It just wasn't a safe place for the community to be. And I think our concern is, without some sort of more active oversight, such as we had with Terrapin Crossroads, it would just revert to that. So at the moment, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens there, and depending on what direction that goes, that'll kind of help us see what path forward we might have. But you know, I think any path forward is going to require some form of rethinking the site and partnership to make sure there's kind of really active programming, active positive programming going on there.
Could I ask a follow-up on that? You
Yeah.
mentioned that, you know, it could be another car lot, and I guess, yeah. But is there any piece of the city's general plan that would force or nudge the city, I guess, planning commission, to not accept something like that and instead say, no, we want this waterfront to be something else? I feel like there was something in some general plan, or maybe it's the BPAC pedestrian plan. There was some conversation that the waterfront should be something more than a car lot.
Yeah, there's a goal in the general plan around kind of like waterfront recreation path. I mean, it is private property, so I would have to bring in our community development director she's gonna know more about kind of what the tools at their disposal might be. But you know, it's at the moment, I'm assuming it's zoned commercial, so
But the park is not private property.
no, the park will remain the park, the park will remain public property.
But we just can't really operate it without.
Whether we're able to partner with the business next door, or we need to find some other sort of creative partnership solution with a different organization, you know, that's kind of what we're waiting to see. And this commission will be heavily involved once, you know, once we identify us. This commission was very involved in the Terrapin Crossroads, the development of that partnership. So you know, we would be kind of working through this body on any major kind of partnership development at that site.
So what I'm hearing is it's just on the back burner till they identify the new owner for the building and parking lot there.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the infrastructure amendments that need to happen in order to make it whatever they didn't want to do? Terrapin, it's a ADA and then the walls falling down, or what is the stuff with the waterway that's been the big barrier?
There wasn't the issue with Terrapin was between the owner of the property of the building and the restaurant owners. It actually, the Terrapin's leaving had nothing to do with the city or our relationship with them. There had been in the original agreement a requirement for them to put in an ADA dock, but we actually ended up waiving that requirement of them because the slope that was required, it physically was not feasible at that site. The ramp slope would have extended all the way across the canal before it hit the water. So that ended up not being not a constraint for them. And we were in negotiations that if they were able to figure out their lease with the property owner, we were happy to extend the agreement for their management of the park.
Thank you for
I answer that question.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's just a lot of rumors out there, as you know.
Yeah, I have
kind
to
of stuff.
say
So I'm like, I'm telling the truth.
some of the reporting on that, like one article would get it pretty close to correct, and then there would be another article that just really wasn't accurate. So there was a lot going on out there, but the city was really willing, and we met a lot with the Leshes about how we could make it work. And they were, you know, there were there was a lot of conversations. Ultimately, without the restaurant, that facility doesn't have any parking, it doesn't have any restrooms, and it doesn't have any electricity. So without the partnership without the restaurant facility available, it's just not a viable music venue. So that was kind of another sticking point, was that that restaurant was really, that building was really important to that use.
Thanks for the clarification, Catherine,
Sure.
and for the report. I think we're getting to the end of our meeting, unless anybody has anything else or anything future they want to see on the next agenda. I think we can close the meeting. Maybe. Anything else? Craig, Catherine, commissioners? All right, so let's adjourn our meeting. We'll meet again on November 17th at 7:12 p.m. Have a good night, everyone. Good to see you. In
Thank
person,
you.
we'll do it soon, maybe in next year.
We're working on the hybrid solutions.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tough. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.